Afternoon, David.
Hi, and I can see that you've got the screen ready to rock and roll, guys. So without further ado, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laurence Scott-Mackay. I'm the Strategic Account Director at Alemba, and I'm accompanied today by James Speight, the Head of Business Development for the Globe. And today we're going to be taking you through how to apply an IT service management tool such as Alemba Service Manager to the enterprise. I'm going to do a very quick introduction, and then James is going to show you it for real life working. So first of all, how does this all fit together? So the Alemba technology stack works like this. So Alemba Service Manager is built on the Azure platform. It leverages that platform, which means you can do things like plug additional logic or power apps or canvas apps into our platform. So it makes an extendable platform, but it also means that we maintain and develop our zero code approach on that. So we still have a graphical workflow engine, screen designer, skin designer, dashboard builder, forms designer, rule builder, etc. All built in the GUI. So it's have your cake and eat it time, really, where you have a completely zero code platform that you can extend further in zero code logic apps. So it really is a very flexible platform. Now we use that platform to then support the 22 ITIL practices in ITIL 4, such as service level management, incident management, problem management, configuration management, etc. And we then use a tool, a function in our tool called partitioning, which we'll talk about a little bit more in details, to allow you to apply those processes across the enterprise management estate. So that means that those processes can then help not just IT, but the HR department, the facilities department, the procurement department, etc., etc. And some of the use cases we have are quite extensive. We go from people using it to help manage Brexit to help managing complaints and compliments. So you can really apply it to anything across the extent of your organization. And how that's achieved is using partitioning, which creates firewalls between different departments. So the IT people don't see finance calls unless you want them to. Finance can't see HR, can't see procurement, can't see facilities, etc. So it firewalls all that data into separate areas, but you can have overall processes that cross those firewalls in a single workflow if you wish. So it's very, very flexible. And also, if anyone's looking after multiple organizations, and maybe in one group, or if you're an MSP, we also allows you to put your different customers into different tenants effectively. So you can have customer A, customer B, customer C, and we have some MSPs who have up to 27 different customers done like this. So just to introduce James on the product, and James will show you all of that in action. I just want to introduce the interfaces that James will be showing you today. So first of all, there's the customer portal, which we provide everybody in an organization with the site license for, and that allows you to log and track all your calls and requests, access the knowledge base, etc., etc. And then we have our intermediate interface, which is particularly useful for ESM users, where we abstract some of the administration complexity from the applications so that it just provides a really simple interface for them. So there's less to learn, because if they're not in IT, they're not maybe interested in learning an advanced tool. And Nano is our interface for that, and it's particularly popular for that. And then finally, Alemba Service Management Core is used to provide a GUI to all the administration, and then the full power users use that application. So with that, I'm going to hand over to James.
Brilliant, thanks very much, Laurence. So I'm just waiting for screen control. Holly, are you able to pass over sharing screen cap. There we go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. As Laurence mentioned, today we're going to be looking at Alemba Service Manager in the context of enterprise service management capabilities. So not only supporting the IT remit, but also extending the capabilities of the tool set to other business department functions. Now, before we actually go through the demonstration with regards to end user and customer experience, and of course, agent and technician experience, it's important to understand how the partitioning functionality that Laurence just mentioned within the presentation is actually configured and managed within Alemba Service Manager itself. So within the core interface in the system administration settings, what our customers are able to do is essentially configure any relevant partitions to facilitate any different business departments throughout the organization. So as you can see on the screen here, we've got the capability to manage IT, but we also have another number of other business departments supporting facilities, finance, HR, security, information security, as well as some of our educational customers supporting things like technology enhanced learning, timetable, and data management. But again, as Laurence mentioned, we also do support the ability to manage different customers in different partitions, supporting a multi-tenanted style offering, but still within the same Alemba Service Manager application. So some of our customers, for example, have vetted service desk staff, so they may work with police forces and so on and so forth. So they can only work with that specific data, which allows you to secure it from other personnel viewing that specific data itself. And what you can then do is it's entirely up to our customer's choice as to how you then partition the functionality within the system to allow them to drive forward with their other associated departmental functions. So typical areas would, for example, be different types of incident screens. So an IT incident screen would be vastly different from that of a facilities or a HR query. Likewise, a different CMDB. So of course, your CMDB for facilities would again be different for IT. But we also offer the capability to share common elements of the solution. So things like people information, locations, organizations, of course, that can all be shared across the business so that you don't have to recreate things, so duplicating the effort across the system. Now, it's important to understand how this then looks with regards to setting up your relevant areas. So, of course, dependent on what you partition the system to, you can create different types of SLAs, categories, workflows, reporting and dashboard functionalities to cater for the relevant department audience that's using the tool. So as you can see here, I've just gone to my categorization structure, and at the top right, you'll see I've got a toggle for IT. And if I select the drop down, it has a number of other areas to represent the partitions that I was just showcasing. So if I revert this to facilities, this then completely changes to the facilities categories. Likewise, if I change it to HR, we now have HR categories. Now, again, dependent on the role-based access security controls, each respective member of the business, dependent on what department they reside, will of course have access to different areas of the solution. And that's furthermore supported by our SLA capabilities. So again, if I now go to matrix definition, you'll see for the HR department, I've got a default HR SLA as well as HR requests SLA to support annual leave, disciplinary and sickness requests. But again, if I change it to IT, we have a number of different SLAs supporting 24 hours, request SLAs, OLAs to support interdepartmental response resolution targets, etc., etc. So again, our customers are easily able to slice and dice up the functionality of the system to support the relevant areas that they'd like to use it for, extending it fully, as I mentioned, to that enterprise service management remit. Now, what we're now going to look at is the self-service experience in the context of how you may want to promote self-service for the various different departments that would use the tool. So firstly, we're going to look at the unified approach to self-service. So effectively a one-stop shop, single pane of glass, providing all ESM functionality to all of your end users and customers. And of course, that will be based upon, again, their role-based access control. So they will only see what's relevant to them based upon their role in the organization. But the point being is that as an end user, and I'm guilty of this as well, I want to be able to log into one single portal and access every single request capability, incident logging capability across the board without having to log in and out of different portals. So for example, here with the bulletins at the top, you can see I'm combining IT bulletins as well as HR, as well as varying different facilities bulletins. So again, we can convey pertinent information directly to the end user base. Scrolling down, you'll see that we have our most popular services to support the varying different service requests that are requested through the service request catalog in accordance with the ESM remit. So here I have HR query, facilities incident, a complaint, new affiliate staff account. And likewise at the bottom, we can promote the most used FAQs utilizing AI to basically promote the various different FAQs across the different departments from hit counts and so on and so forth. So you can really manage all of those capabilities in a unified approach. And that's backed up with, if I go to the raise a request area here for our service request catalog view, whereby again, we're amalgamating the different types of service requests which can be submitted by the customer, from the varying different rudimentary IT requests, from loan laptop requests, accessibility document requests, new standard laptop, through to facilities such as ad hoc repair, corporate services for airport transfers, you name it. Obviously all of that can be managed within this specific area. And again, this can be securitized, so you can have multiple different categories and segregate who has access to the relevant different areas of the service catalog itself. Now, if I just log out of the unified portal, what I can then do is move on to the HR experience. So some of our customers do like to have specific portals for each relevant area and each department that would use the Alemba Service Manager solution. So now what you'll see within the portal is I have HR specific updates. Across the top of the screen, I have specific HR centric menu options. I've got a different promoted set of requests through the HR catalog. Again, we've got queries related to HR and of course cases. And that's supported by things such as raising queries. So if, for example, I had a question to do with a pension request, I can very simply insert my query and keywords into the description, and the system will then proactively float knowledge-based material, again, based upon their role-based access controls, based upon what they have and what they need to do in order to manage the specific pension request itself. Similarly, as we've just seen with regards to the unified approach, this time it's specifically related to HR. So it's vastly restricted. So we're only giving them the capabilities to manage information requests within the HR remit. Likewise, if I go to log a case or request, here I can book an annual leave request, allocating the date from to the number of days in the entitlement. Likewise, I may want to log retrospective sickness leave if unfortunately I've been ill and unable to perform my work duties. So again, they can manage everything to do with the HR area as an end user or customer. Then when that comes through to the agent or HR business user experience, as Laurence mentioned, we have a specific targeted interface to facilitate that HR interaction. So for IT, in accordance with ITIL best practice, we fully expect most of agents and technicians to utilize the core interface. But in reality, with regards to other business departments, such as HR, such as information security, they don't really need the core power of the main system itself. So Nano is designed to facilitate that business user remit. So on the left, I have a contractable and expandable menu, where as a HR agent, I could log different types of issues, queries, cases. I could log different types of requests to do with HR, access different types of dashboards and reports, so I could understand what the underlying status of the HR service desk was, as well as a whole host of other functionalities. And one of the key areas is with regards to the workload and task burden borne to those agents. So if I wanted to understand a disciplinary request, for example, I can go into my request, select the workflow icon, and this then tells me exactly the status of this particular disciplinary request. So you've got everything from HR assessments to formal reviews, manager fact finding, understanding what the outcome of the case hearing was, and then dependent on what the outcome was, a letter of concern would be sent, a warning letter, final warning, or instant dismissal. So again, the workflows and the requests are obviously very different to that of the IT remit. Now, what we can also do whilst we're in Nano is understand what the information security agent experience looks like. So information security, they don't per se need a portal, so there's no need for any portal access. So if I just very briefly log in as Thomas, who resides within the information security team, this time you'll see that, again, we have a similar look and feel, but the workload is different, and of course, the latest news is different. Likewise, on the left, I've got the ability to access different types of dashboards and reports for daily summary of security incidents based upon trend analysis. Similarly, I could access the security and ops trend analysis over the last 12 months to see when things were happening across the business, whether it were specifically related to information security or security as a whole across the business. Likewise, if we drill into the workload and information security incidents that reside within the system, we can, for example, understand the information that's being tracked and logged against those specific things. So here I can see the business site, different categories, the date and time of incident. You can support geolocation, so you can see exactly where the security incident took place, as well as being able to track many other different types of information within the tool. And finally, we just want to go through the facilities management experience. So again, if I go to the portal, and this time log on to a facilities dedicated portal, again, you'll see the user experience is governed by the relevant portal that that end user is logging on to. So now we see specific information related to bulletins for facilities. We have a popular services promoted catalog for facilities department. Likewise, if we scroll down, we can see things like repairs, replacement requests, track different types of issues, which again have different forms, different types of requests, and indeed, again, through the service request catalog, we've got a unique understanding from that viewpoint. If I wanted to log a repair or replacement request, what we're able to do is, again, design your relevant screens to facilitate the facilities department. And I could select repair or replacement. I could then select where the issue is being experienced. So if we select main building, this then promotes any other relevant fields that need to be populated for this specific area. So I could pick the location, I could pick what the actual issue was to do with, whether it was in a communal or a room area. And again, we're utilizing dynamic capabilities to showcase different types of information. And in reality, what that looks like once that's logged is if, for example, I log in this time to core as a facilities agent, facilities tend to primarily work towards a similar vein with regards to IT. So there's lots of different things in accordance with the ITIL framework that they too would take advantage of, such as things such as a dedicated facility CMDB. So here I could see the head office, business location, where that resides, and we have a graphical topology to understand all the varying different links across the organization in the context of the facility CMDB. So the head office with kitchens, boilers, rooms, windows, toilets. Again, you can visualize all the relevant dependencies. And essentially what you can then do is if I go to my request search, here you'll see I've logged a repair replacement request earlier on. I can see all the varying different details behind it. We can access things such as CAD drawings and so on and so forth. If we go into the dependency diagram, we can see the actual workflow that will now take place. So again, specifically related to facilities, you have unique elements of the workflows and tasks within the task palette to drive what happens. So if I'd have selected repair, it would have taken the top route. Because I selected replacement, it's taken the bottom route, gone out for tasks, notifications, assigned onto third parties. So if you need to bring in glaziers to fix the issue, you may have underpinning contracts related to those, and we're at the active site inspection sign off. So essentially, if I very quickly go to the sign off, I can say that I have signed it off. And if we go back to the workflow and give it a refresh, you'll now see that that repair replacement request has now been completed. Now this one here is extremely important, the replace new window, because this actually automates the management of your CMDB. So if we take, for example, the room, we can see all the information with regards to the room itself. Again, you have geolocations. We've got different information to support the room itself with number of fixtures and fittings, electrical points, number of windows, room dimensions. But this time, if we go back to the linking diagram, what we'll now see with regards to the graphical topology is linked to room 1 earlier on was window 1. That's now been dynamically removed, and window 6 has replaced that. So again, you can dynamically manipulate your CMDB across all relevant departments supporting the enterprise service management remit. And just finally, before I finish the session, again, just to showcase that all of the system is centric based upon the relevant department that is logging on. You'll be able to see now that if I go to call, I have a facilities incident and facilities major incident as opposed to HR or security incidents. Likewise, requests, dashboard. So if I select dashboard, it takes me into a facilities management dashboard and report where I can see all the relevant information to support the facilities remit itself. So hopefully that's given you a good understanding in the context of how Alemba Service Manager can support not only the IT remit, but also as we move forward with the full enterprise service management remit, which many of our customers are adopting, especially given the last 18 months that we've all been living through to support those varying different remits. So I'll take a brief pause there.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed for that. Another great in-depth demo. Thank you. We've got a few questions that have sort of come through the day. Now, these may not be specific to what we've seen, all right, but I think it's general questions around, you know, what I suppose interested parties that are listening are eager to know about. Okay, so I'm going to ask those. We've got two from Holly. One is, can sign-on be used through cloud Microsoft accounts? So this was relating to an earlier point around single sign-on. And Holly's asking if, you know, you can link these accounts up to sort of Microsoft accounts as well, or cloud accounts as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So I probably should have said at the start of the session that single sign-on, obviously identity management integration is fully part of the Alemba Service Manager suite. I haven't got SSO enabled on my demo, but I think similar to what Dennis mentioned in the earlier session, we can fully integrate with Active Directory, ADFS, Azure, Active Directory, all the relevant protocols that come with that, whether it be Ping, Fedora, Okta, and so on and so forth. And everything is all managed in accordance with secure SAML2 authentication, multi-factor authentication, etc., etc. So you don't need to worry about having multiple different types of logging accounts to access the interface. You essentially hit the URL and it will then dynamically log you into the solution.
That's great. Thank you for that. And maybe one more. We just got, it's on time, but I'm going to ask it if you don't mind. There was a question earlier again about data and data storage. So where you have to deal with organisations who have got different legislation. So maybe where data has got to be held in the UK, not internationally. How does that work for an organisation like yours and other organisations as well? How do you work around some of the data challenges, if you like, that organisations have?
Yeah, so with regards to Alemba Service Manager's cloud deployment model, we partner with Microsoft Azure as the data sub-processor. Obviously, they've got a variety of different data centers throughout the world. So we can, of course, install the Alemba Service Manager solution in UK data centers, obviously since Brexit, and obviously that's very important in the context of our UK clients. With that, obviously, you've got all the varying different things to support GDPR. And then likewise, obviously, for our international and global clients, it's entirely up to our customers' choice as to what data center they'd like the information to reside. So, for example, some of our US customers who also have offices throughout Europe, they choose, for example, a centralized geolocation because it's obviously best of both worlds to secure the data and access it, which obviously also is important from a performance perspective as well, so that everyone experiences an optimum speed in terms of the interfaces themselves.
Brilliant. Great stuff. Excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Laurence, and And James, I think Laurence is joining us a little bit later on the next Q&A session as well. So we look forward to seeing Laurence shortly. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, speak soon. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our next guest.